Hi, I'm Panda Hershey with Your Full Expression. Welcome to the second Coffee and Charts call, where we discuss how the current Venus retrograde and the upcoming Mercury retrograde overlap with each other and with Pluto this month all the way through February. The ways we'll have to pull together our tools and our wisdom and also take some risks give us a sense of the hard work that we have ahead for us in 2022. So, thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the other side. When we talked the last time, Venus was in retrograde, and this is that energy of feeling affirmed and more inside yourself this time about, yes, I can do these things. The Venus is receiving and being affirmed, getting actual observable signs in your life that, oh, you're doing a good job. And that's that Capricorn energy of pulling everything together. So hopefully you have been feeling that in your life in some way. And I gave you a heads up that on December 29th, that Mercury would go into its portal and they would actually meet on that day. And hopefully over those couple days, there were these signs of, oh, someone's actually talking to me about you're doing a good job. And you could, over the next few days, start to see where is that going. And then as Mercury crossed over from Capricorn, which is pulling it all together, into Aquarius, which is thinking beyond what you've already done. You know, how do you take a risk? How do you try something that, you know, you can see some potential in, but you don't know exactly how you're going to get there? You're just going to go for it. That has started to take off. And that's kind of where we are. And I hinted that there is something bringing these two energies together. And that is this Pluto transit that happens all year. The portal opens tomorrow at 26 to 28.5 degrees Capricorn. Now, all of you guys remember that every sign goes from 0 to 30 degrees. So the absolute deepest you can go is like 29 degrees and 59 minutes, right? So for those of us that have that, maybe that doesn't get touched. But boy, this is taking the deepest parts of us right up to the edge. And the next year, from 2022 to 2023, is when Pluto dips into Aquarius. So this year is the last year of it being fully in Capricorn, and it is going to draw all of your hard work out of you. Pluto brings all your tools together. And maybe we'll talk about this some other time, but it's because if you think about the orbits of all the other planets, they're kind of in this nice line that everything's kind of lined up, but Pluto's is at an angle. So it's almost like it gets a bird's eye view and an underside view of all the other planets, and it like extends them. Think about creating some three-dimensionality. So I always think of Pluto as like pulling everything together. And this is what we're going to have to do individually and as a society this year. So to get a sense of that in how we experience it, I thought I'd try something a little different. And so what we're going to do is take us back to December 29th. In the sky, you could see that, can you guys see the date or not? Because right now the photos are, okay. So I'm going to move these actually out of the way. On December 29th, this is a chart that was cast at 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time in Berkeley. Now, each of the charts we'll see are at that same time. So what you'll see is the sun at noon, always being at the top, but then the dial rotates and the planets move. So let's take a look at that together. I am so sorry. I'm going to move these off to the side so that, there we go. You can still see the date. All right. Okay, so here we go. And what we can see on December 29th, as we talked about, Venus is this pink sign. Mercury is the green, and Pluto is in black. Now, moving forward would be moving in this direction towards Aquarius. That's what Mercury is going to do. Venus is in retrograde, so it's going to move away. And so let's just watch that happen. And so there we go. So the 30th, you can see Venus move away and Mercury starting to, and they separate and separate again, even more. And you can see that Venus is going to cross over the sun in yellow here the next day on January 8th. And if you remember, I gave you guys a question for January 8th as an additional one to think about, wow, how am I actually doing what I know I can do? And hopefully that came together for you in some way. And as we continue, you can see we're already, we're on the 10th of January, so that's coming in a few days. And you're going to see that Mercury is getting very close to Saturn, but it never touches it. And on the 12th, it gets to 10 degrees Aquarius and it kind of stops. So it's this 5-day period of being in the same place and not really moving, but it actually stations on the 14th and then is still there. And actually on the 15th, the sun crosses Pluto. And then it starts, you can see it starting to come back towards the sun. And there we go to the 20th. So I am going to see if that was interesting and if we can run that one more time again. Okay, here we go. So December 29th, we're going to watch the pink and the green move apart and towards the sun in Capricorn. The sun's going to keep moving through Capricorn. And just as an aside, you can watch the moon move very quickly around the dial. So I'm just going to tick through it with no comment. There we go. All right. So that is what we're going to be feeling over the next couple of weeks, is that Mercury taking you forward, thinking about, okay, what can I do with what I've been learning? And on the 10th, that's when things stop. Like you've got a few ideas. You don't have to think of every single idea. Just really stick with in those 5 days. Think about how far have I gotten? Okay, I'm going to go backwards and I'm going to think through how am I going to get here again? So you can come back and it will go back into Capricorn to give you an opportunity to think through, oh, did I apply everything I know? What have I maybe even picked up in the last couple of days that can help me push that further when I come back? And that's what these Mercury retrogrades are all about. And in the meantime, the Venus retrograde is affirming, yes, you can do a whole bunch of these things. Here's how you're pulling it together. Yes, and it just is encouraging you to keep going. And you'll see, we'll feel all of these energies come together throughout January and February. So I hope that's helpful. I wanted to give you, actually, let me ask and see, are there any questions? No. Okay. All right. I have for the Venus retrograde, an additional question for you to think about. And that was that point where the Venus and Sun came together at about 18 degrees Capricorn on January 8th and 9th. So that Venus of receiving and the Sun of doing come together in Capricorn, how am I feeling affirmed about the way I'm actually pulling everything together? It may just feel good. You may do something and you just may feel so satisfied. And it's just this internal, yes, okay, I got this. I know I can get it to this point, right? If someone affirms it to you, that's just an extra bonus. And then for the Mercury in Capricorn, and it'll be in Aquarius at this point, I just wanted to note that Mercury will be traveling through the points in Aquarius where Saturn was traveling last year. So you were part in some way of the Great Resignation. There was something in your life that you had to let go of, that maybe you worked really hard for. And from the 8th to the 19th, there may be this time of recognizing, oh, well, I had to let that go. And how has that changed me? How is getting back to basics and maybe getting rid of some extra stuff that you just knew you couldn't hold on to anymore? How has that served me? So just a period of time to think about that and affirm that to yourself, that, as hard as it was, or maybe it was easy for you, that has helped you in some way create space. And so this Pluto retrograde at 26 to 28.5 degrees, there's a little bit of this overlap with the Venus retrograde because it gets up to, I think it was like 26.5 degrees. And this portal opens at just over 26. So there's a little bit of overlap. And then that Mercury retrograde goes from 24 up to 10 degrees Aquarius. So Pluto really pulls it all together. I've written a little something here and I hope it all made sense to you. But some of the key things for us to notice is every time these things come together with a personal planet, we actually get to live that energy in some small way. And it helps us think about the bigger picture. In the next call, I'm going to talk about how you can think about applying it to your personal chart. But for me, the one thing that I have to work at because of where this is this deeper part of me of finding my voice, of learning to challenge myself to express what I have to say. And because my Mercury is in Libra, totally comfortable doing it one-on-one. But when I think about having to pull it out for everyone in Capricorn, I have no skills there, right? There's nothing there. So it's very uncomfortable. And if I can just keep working on this whole year, just practicing, I will learn. And it's this kind of thing that I'll talk to you about to how to find that in your own chart. Okay. So I just wanted to go over one more time about the Pluto retrograde and how that works. Those dates that we talked about and some of the energies that we saw visually in the sky, this is when these questions come into play, and this is how they're related. So I try to give you a heads up of what's coming over the 16th to the 18th. The sun will be going over that same area of the sky that Pluto will travel. So it's good to pay attention. What are you doing? What are you working on? That's a hint about what you're going to have to work on all year. And then as each of these successive transits or movements of the personal planets through that space happen, those are your times to just pay attention. And it really all comes together through the next 2 months. So it's really an intense time. I'm not going to lie to you. So I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment and just see, do you guys have any questions? No. Men, I don't want to call you out. Okay, it is 8:40. Yes.
Okay, I have a really quick question. So as we know, in the way that my chart sort of cycles through, the way you stack things up, I'm one of those people that has a big pause. So during that pause, I'm working through things deeply internally. Externally, it may look like nothing's happening, but internally, there's so much going on. And then once it's formulated, boom, it pops out as usually as a fully formed idea or product or whatever. When we look at what's happening over these early retrograde moments, how does that impact that process for me, just in sort of bullet points?
Where there's nothing that it's touching in your chart.
Mm-hmm.
You, it's an internal, you may feel completely stuck in some ways.
All right, thank you.
You just have to let it percolate, let it keep, I know I have these blank spots also where I just have to be patient. And as hard as that is, you write what you can and do what you can, and you continue to not give up on yourself and trust that, I can see ahead when it's going to come together. And in the meantime, I'm going to do all I can to get my ducks in a row so that when it pops out, I'm ready to receive it. I'm going to either clear my schedule or whatever it takes so that I'm ready to receive it.
Awesome.
Ready to receive the pitch, so to speak.
Okay, cool. Thank you. That's very affirming and helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely. And that's part of what I'm going to do also, hopefully on the next call, where I talk about how to use either the readings that we do together or using your own chart to think about how you can find these times to wait for and make space for them. Okay. Well, we're in for an exciting year. There's no doubt. The deepest parts of ourselves really, really are coming out. Although, Larissa, you've got one more tool left in your toolbox beyond this. So that's pretty exciting. At this point, we are at 8:50. And if anyone was interested, I was going to be happy to share what I've been doing in my own journal. But I think so many of you are very familiar with using the journal pages, the house pages, that have a wonderful day. But I am just going to quickly show, at least for Min and Brian, how I do this because they haven't been working with the journal as much. So it'll be on the recording if you want to see it. But I want to just wish you a great day. And if you have to go, it's totally fine. Okay. All right. Take care, you guys. See you in 2 weeks, same Zoom call, but I'll send out a reminder. And it'll be the third Wednesday. So 2 weeks from today. Okay. All right. Min and Brian and Larissa, okay, here we go. I'm going to share my screen so that, Min, you get a sense of this, of how to work with this and the pages that we've got. Okay, so Min, I'm not going to go into full screen mode, but you saw that you had your chart, and your chart, this is my chart, but your chart is throughout the whole guide. This page here is for all of the retrogrades. It lays them out. We are currently doing this Venus retrograde, and I know you have to go, and then the Mercury retrograde, and then here are the outer planets in Pluto. You can click on them and they'll go to it. So on your chart, you will see a blue arc. And in order to know where this is affecting, where in your life you're feeling this, you look into the numbers that are being covered here for that pie slice. Yeah. So you can see I've got 9 and 10. I wrote it down here. You can actually type there. So what I would do is then flip, and I'm going to scroll to the 9th and 10th houses, and I make notes for myself. So November 17th and 18th, there were some questions. Where am I at? What affirmations am I getting about what I have to share with the world? How am I growing as a person? What opportunities are crossing my path? And for me, this is about sharing what I know. The 9th house is about teaching. And during that time, a couple people were calling me up and saying, hey, when is that 2022 nightstand journal coming out? I want one. So that was that affirmation that, oh, I guess I'm supposed to go do that and pull it together. And then, as more questions come, I write stuff down. So that's sort of how that works. And these are clickable also to type. So I can type and say hi to Min. Okay. And so both pages are there. And then the next page, because there's a little bit of the 10th house and that Pluto transit and also that Mercury transit that we're going through is for me all about how am I pulling it together? How am I making my impact? And for me, this is about, how am I working with the community? How am I doing my work in the world? And for me right now, it's doing these calls. And that Aquarius energy is, it's that I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to try this and try that on these calls. And these next 2 months, I'm going to find things that work and find things that don't work so that I can refine it, pull it together, and move forward in a way that seems like it's going to be something to offer.
Panda, where you've got the dates where you're writing your notes, is that just like we use December 24th, 25th, that was just those particular dates were specific for that memory, or are you picking up something from one of the transits retrogrades and so you're specifically referencing those dates? What's your...
It's more that second one. So on my last call, I gave a heads up about those dates.
Okay.
And that's like, I just did, for 2 extra journal questions for the Venus and the Mercury retrogrades. I'll probably write something in here for those dates.
So those dates are going to relate to the boxes on the page. That's journal questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. They're kind of additional thought questions. And you may not feel anything, especially if there's a blank spot in your chart, nothing may happen, but it's possible that you are feeling something. And it's just a good way to keep track.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So you can always ask me later in person if you have questions. But anyway, I'm so glad you were able to join.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's going to take a bit of wrapping my head around because you say something like Pluto, and so I'm looking and trying to work out, okay, what's Pluto's symbol, or what's, and and about 7 sentences have gone by and I've just managed to find it, and then
and I'm going to work on that definitely, and hopefully
I don't see what you could change about that. I mean, I need to be more up to speed. I mean, it's just there's none of the words, none of the terminology, none of the concepts or anything I have in my head. So every single word that comes out of your mouth is something that I've got to try and translate or stitch together.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully with a little practice and just listening to it, it starts to come in over time. But, if you're being affirmed in some way, people are coming to see you, that's your affirmation that you're doing the right thing. If no one were coming to see you, if someone was coming to say, Min, we want you to come, be back in the tech world, then that would be like, whoa, okay.
That would be hell had officially started.
So that is, it's listening to those cues of, that affirmation of what you're able to do. And that will help guide you in finding that flow.
I'd say I'm feeling a lot of affirmations right now, but I'll carry on looking.
I think your clients would disagree. So, okay, my dear.
All right, my dear. Thank you so much. I'm going to scamper.
Okay. I'll talk to you soon. I hope you're feeling affirmed in your own life about the way in which you're applying your wisdom, and that you're also finding ways to take risks to make things better in some way. During the call, there was a great question about those blank spots in our natal charts, and On our next call, I'm going to address them. So if you'd like to join us on January 19th at 8:30 a.m. for Coffee and Charts, please visit my website at yourfullexpression.com. And I hope to see you then. Thanks.